Over here, what I'm doing is I'm just redrawing the class diagram on Word. So we've got an electric copy of it, so we can actually see how class diagrams actually look as well. So once you have your basic class things, now you might not necessarily have to draw relationships or redraw this kind of stuff. But if you wanted to represent a relationship, you need to draw a triangle. And unfortunately, it's not going to allow me to because it's on a table. Blatters, shapes. I want a triangle. I want a triangle over here. Ooh, yay! Isn't that pretty? I think that's pretty. And then you'll draw a line to link between it. That would happen there. So insert shapes, line, down, line, bam, line, down. Whee. I'm having fun. Yeah. So you connect your different items to show that the fact that it's inheriting. You show the inheritance from the triangle because the triangle is pointing up to say that it's being inherited from the drink class. What I'm going to try to do now is just make this a little bit thicker, but yeah, that's irrelevant. This is word skills.
Proficiency in Microsoft Word.
Yeah. Now, anyway, so we got this shows our diagram of what we're trying to create in our class now. Is that alcoholic drink will be inherited from drink, so it'll take on everything from there. So the inheritance is shown there. So this is polymorphism, the fact that alcoholic and soft are different to the original drink. So basically, a object can become different objects, can take on different forms. But both of these are still a drink. So a soft is still a drink, an alcoholic is still a drink. Both of them take on the attributes of a drink. Does that make sense? That is polymorphism, the fact that a object can be taken on by other objects. Do you guys get that? Now, and remember here we've got our private fields, and we do that so that we can protect them. So the dots has got a bit more integrity there. And also here we've got negative age restriction, which will mean that the method will become less complicated to use. So we're doing information hiding for protection or for making them the class or the object to be easier to use, so it hasn't got so many methods. So as stated earlier, instead of going, if you need to do B, C, D, E, F, G to achieve A, you can only show the user A and then hide the rest of the methods so that it doesn't make the method or the class or the object too overly complicated. So that's the reasons why you would use information hiding. Get title exists in the parent class, which means it is overridden. And there's obviously also, you could have examples of overloaded if there's different parameters and two different methods of the same name in there. On from there, we're now going to physically code this. So we're going to go to Netbeans, we're going to create a class project to work with it. I've got my class here, and we're now literally just going to create exactly what we've done. So we're going to go create new Java class. Our first one is called, we'll just make it part of a Pac-Man.
Pac-Man greater than M.
Now, Pac-Man, and we're going to call this drink, the first class drink, and we're going to finish. We're then going to quickly create it, so it should be private string. I'm going to pause the video for this because you don't need to see how to code classes. Class diagram to create the constructors, but I'm creating them just for the fact that I can then actually use these better. So even though the class diagram didn't state these, I'm just creating them just to make my life easier. Also the toString, so that I can use it and test it and show you guys what's going on. So even though I didn't ask you guys for that. And technically, capacity would be then, what would it have at the end? ML, right? Or ML, yeah, milliliters, okay. So I'm just making my toString so it will display prettily. My new class, now this class is going to be slightly different because now it's a Java class, and it's called, what is it called? It was alcohol.
Alcohol.
That is for alcohol. Alcohol.
Yeah, L-O-C-H-O-L.
Okay. So now when I do this, the first thing you can do is you use to inherit, you would say extends, and you would say from which class it's extending from. So in this case, it is extending the drinks class. Constructor drink in class. Oh, you know what? You can't inherit unless you have a default constructor. Oh, sorry, that's not a default constructor. That's a very odd concept to grasp. But the fact that when I extended it, it gave me an error. And the reason why is because it didn't have a default constructor. And the reason on this is that it has to be able to defaultly configure itself. And if it's extending this, it's saying, okay, I'm existing from here, but I don't know what the default of here is, so I can't extend it without knowing a default version of it. So you have to have a default constructor on whatever you're extending. I'm not going to go into too much on that, but basically, when we extend it, you have to have a default constructor to extend it. Now, on there, so I want to create my default, my parameters here. So private, I'll call as int. And what was, this should be a small a. And this has got to do with the alcohol level and private string warning. So it's got the warning of all the dangers of alcohol on the actual message here. Now on from there, we are going to create a default constructor as stated. Now when you create your default constructor, you'll see here it also talks about a super constructor. And I would take your super constructor and then generate. The reason why, okay, well, it doesn't actually come up, but I would literally call my default constructor. Now, to call your default constructor, super means you're referring to your parent. Now, here I would also then go and I would say alcohol is equal to 0, semicolon, warning is equal to blank, semicolon. Now, the same thing goes with my fully parameterized constructor. My fully parameterized constructor would contain both the fully parameterized constructor of my parent and all fields of my child. So when I go and I generate this now, you'll see that it says super title capacity. So it uses my parent's default, fully parameterized constructor, and I work with that. So now if, for example, I had a situation where I created a constructor which didn't have my parent's information in it, but I could actually also go super dot. Now I can't use capacity because it's private. It means that I can't access capacity directly, can I? So I'd have to use my set capacity or something like that because it's private. So that's just for interest. I'm not going to code that up. Anyway, so we've got a situation where we now got the initializing of this, and now what we can do is we want to override. So we can actually go here, override method, and I want to say I want to override my get title method. So now the get title method uses my super.get title, plus I can add on to it alcohol is bad. Okay. Now, so now you'll get the super's title, right? Plus you're adding on a sentence at the end. So you can modify what your get title is. So you're overriding this method.
Okay.
Now the next thing that we're going to do here, the other thing that I asked for was the fact that I wanted to get private because I wanted to information hide because it wasn't needed anywhere else. Get age restriction, and potentially here we would return 18, and then here we would say strictly no. So this method is used from within this class, but it is not used elsewhere. So that's an important concept to get, is that I'm using this method within here, but I don't want to overcomplicate it, because when people are using it, I don't want it to be so tricky and so difficult to use. Yes?
Could you add a if statement into the...
Now, what we're going to do here is our next class is our soft drink class. It's very much the same. So I don't know how much detail, but I'm going to create a toString. I'm going to override.
I'm not so heavy to this call.
Now, with your toString, no, I got annoyed when people do that next time. I don't want it to be done the other way around.
Oh, I mean, can you hear it?
Yes, you can hear it.
Okay, good.
Now,
So this disrupted this lesson. Fantastic.
If I construct this toString, I can go super.toString, which will mean it will return what the parent class has, plus I can add on to certain things. So one, I could, super.toString would be as it stands, but now I could add on to it a \n and state there plus capacity alcohol. What is it? Not is it? What is it? Alcohol, which means the percentage. So plus, then that's the percentage. Alcohol. Then I could add plus warning. Do you guys get that?
Yep.
So I'm using my super.toString plus I'm adding different things. Now, what I would be intrigued about, if I run get title here, that will call this method, right? Now I wonder, and this I don't know, I'll be interested to see what happens. If in my toString here, instead of I saying title, I said get title. And I'll explain why later when we start using them both as but I'm interested to see what it will do. I don't know. Now, on from there, we're going to create a new Java class. We're going to create our last one, soft, for soft drinks. I'm going to quickly finish this and pause. Remember, we need to extend. So I am putting this on the video just so we can get more details of this. Extends drink. Technically, I could also extend alcohol, and then I could have an alcoholic soft drink. But now, anyway, from there, so extending drink, we'll then create our constructors. We don't need this one. Let's delete that, and let's go and put here. I just want my fully parameterized constructor just to make my life easier for later. So fully parameterized would have my super as well as my my current variable, and then I'll create a toString, I'll insert toString, and my toString would also include the parent's toString plus sugar. How is sugar content measured in soft drinks?
Grams per 100 milliliters.
Amen. Birthday.
Plus sugar. I should never ever name things with a capital letter. Fields should never be a capital letter. Okay, Control R is the shortcut for renaming. Remember. Thank you. Now, what we're going to do here is we're now going to use these classes and we're going to see how they work. So I'm going to start by creating a manager class. So we're going to call this drink manager. And my drink manager is going to have an array. Now, here's the interesting thing. I'm not going to create an array of, I'm not going to create an array of soft drinks and an array of alcohol. I'm literally going to create an array of drinks. So drink array. You guys following? Okay, private. Now here's the interesting thing. I can go private void add drink, which will receive through string title and what's the other thing? Int capacity. And on this, I could say
Cap City, yo.
now on this, I could write there drinks position num drinks is equal to new drink. I use a fully parameterized constructor. Sweet. You guys get that, right? That's what we've been doing this whole time.
Yeah.
Right? That's easy enough. But now, what we can also do is we can create another one. Add alcohol. And this one will receive the title, the capacity, the alcohol, and the... So it'll receive all of them. And now, with the exact same array, and this is where polymorphism comes in, is where a object, or one of these objects, can take on different forms. So now, here, if I use this method, I'm initializing that position in the array with the alcohol class, because they're both drinks. They are both drinks. So I can initialize it using the alcohol class. Do you guys follow this? KP, you focused? Okay. Now,
Giggles.
now, from there, obviously then we can do the same thing for our, what's our last one?
Soft.
Soft drink. So private add void add soft open brackets, string title, comma, int capacity, comma, string int sugar. Now, in a more complicated example, I would actually potentially copy the fully parameterized constructors parameters to put them in here just to make sure they're in the same order and we work from same things, but that's your guys' choice. Drinks, num drinks is equal to new, and now we say soft. And you'll see there capacity, we didn't create a default constructor there, so it actually didn't even ask for that. And now we've got that. Now, we would need to actually work with our constructor to work with this. Now, generally speaking, in your exam, you will not need to do inheritance, but you need to understand inheritance and explain this. But let's say if there was a text file, the text file would have to distinguish between whether it's a drink, an alcohol, or a soft drink. And you will have to distinguish on which class type, so it's still going to be very important. So we're going to construct a text file now inside this project folder, and we are going to determine how we are going to distinguish between our different types of drinks. So I'm going to go to the location where we are working, which at the moment is under, I know I need to sort out the folder structure here quite a bit, but so we're going to create our text file within here, and inside this text file we're going to call this text file drinks. Okay, so in our drinks text file we're going to have to determine which class. I'm going to change my font to be quite large. Okay, it already is a 22, so you guys can see what I'm writing here. But now, give me a drink. Martini. Okay, so we've got we have martini, and generally speaking, what size glasses are martinis in?
Shots.
250 mils. No, it's a cocktail.
Come on, Mitchell.
I don't know.
No.
I don't know what a martini is.
Let's say
I know
200.
from
Guys,
James
okay, yeah, that's relevant. Now, hashtag. From there, you would have because this is alcohol. What else would it have? It would have capacity. So I think it's probably about a 20%ish.
Yeah.
Maybe 17. It depends on the strength of it. So let's make it 17. Anyway, and then it would be a warning, and it would say
will cause death if consumed in excess.
But so you already have a warning message inside the toString.
Da da da.
no, that was the get title. I was adding the age restriction to the title, but every single individual drink has to have a its own. All right, now let's say Coca-Cola. Okay, so here we now have Coke and hashtag. That comes in 330 mils or 340 ml bottles. Hashtag. Then it has sugar content, which is 200, right? How many? 200 grams of sugar per 100 grams.
35.
Actually, just make
Okay, 35. Now let's just count with a non-Oros.
Ha, still water.
Oh yeah, so water.
1 liter of Oros. Yeah, H2O. Now, yeah. Anyway, we've got one example of each. Let's come up with one more example of each. So we're going to first come up with H2O, and we're going to say 500 mils of that. Then we're going to have a soft drink.
Fanta. Creme de la soda.
I'm going to say fresh cut, but I don't even make those anymore. Anyway, hashtag 500 mils, we have a buddy. And hashtag, how much per, let's say it's got a little less than Coke. Okay, then we'll have here, I actually have no idea. This is named, Zamalek is actually an Egyptian soccer team that was sponsored by Black Label.
No, I would not know that.
So an Egyptian soccer team was sponsored by, called that. But anyway, it's irrelevant. Zamalek is a Black Label. It's the same
I
thing.
had Johnny Walker Blue Label.
Now, okay, so let's say this here normally comes in 340. Then it'll be hashtag. Then it has to do with mils after mils is. What was the next percentage? So that's 5.5. Oh, now that's a problem. What's our data type was what?
It's
An int. I do actually need to show you guys floats and how to deal with decimal places, so I might as well use this lesson also to work with that. So in our actual, otherwise we'll just truncate and it'll become 5. So in our actual item here, so in our alcohol, we'd have to change this from an integer, and we need to change it into there's different types of ones. There's a float, which can deal with it, and there's a final state for a float extends number implements the capacity we're able to primitive. There's also a real, okay, real's not in this language, double, that kind of thing, but let's just work with floats. Floats are simpler ones to be able to deal with that type. So we'll also need to change our We didn't have a getter for it anyway. Though I do actually want getters and setters for all of these. But anyway.
Alt insert.
Alt insert, getters and setters, and let's go bam. Alright, so if you put it a float, you'll now be able to handle decimal places because it's 5.5%. And we'll put a warning of there. What's the usual one? Do not consume when pregnant. Or when driving.
You know the back.
Or when teaching.
Or when.
I think you have a point.
I swear I've seen teachers in the
Okay,
past.
now,
hip flask
no,
in
no, anyway, so do not consume when teaching.
there.
Now, guys, focus. Hey. From there, we've saved this, and this is where it's got. But now there's a bit of a difficult because when we're reading it in, let me just file save. It doesn't. Control S wasn't seeming to work, so let me just make sure. All right. When we're now reading this in our constructor here inside our drink manager, we need a drink and we need to add drink or alcohol or soft drink. What did I forget to do?
Oh,
I forgot to increment my, so it would point to the next location when it's working from there. Now, in my default constructor, the first thing I need to do is make sure that my num drinks is equal to 0, so I'd initialize my num drinks so that there's 0 drinks currently. I'll then need to read from my text file. So to read from my text file, I go and I say, I'm going to go from the easy way. I'm just going to say scanner sc file is equal to new scanner, and I'm going to say from new file, and the file source string path name, it is drinks.txt. Did I call it through the capital or small letter? Do you guys remember?
So we're allowed to use that.
What? Small letter.
Small letter. That instead of going
Create the file
scanner
first,
SC
etc.
equals new scanner and then file equals new file.
You can just do it in one line. It will work. It's just you're creating a new file because you're not referring to the file directly again. So there's no need for you to create a temporary variable that refers to it. You can just do it in one line. And I'm going to. You can throw it and catch it in the GUI, but realize in an exam situation, you would lose a mark if you forget to catch it. So rather, in an exam situation, I would say surround it right now. I have to try catch it and handle it and make a message to the user and to the programmer. So I'd say then, sir tab error in drink manager :+ ex dot get message. Now, so I would display it immediately during an exam situation. However, during your PAT or project stages, error messages should be handled in the GUI stage, so you can then display it to the programmer and the user, and you can determine how it's going to be displayed to the user. So I would throw it if it was a project, but I would here, if it was an exam, I'm just going to deal with it so that I don't have to worry about a letter. The next thing that we're working with is we're going to be sitting there. So here we've got a situation where a drink can be an alcohol or soft drink. So one object can be assumed as being a alcohol or a soft drink or just a drink. So we've got one object being able to take on different forms. That is polymorphism. Now, on from there, we now got the scanner is going to read it in. We're going to have to loop while sc file dot has next, right? We know this off by heart. Our next statement there is we're going to say string record is equal to sc file dot next line. This is going to take the whole entire line and put it into record. Now, we are then going to create another scanner sc record. So now here I'm scanning through the record, or scr if you want to be short, is equal to new scanner, and this time we're going to scan through a string source. We're going to have a string source of the record, semicolon, and we're going to make the record use the delimiter hash, because that's what we're using in our text file, right? Now, for all drinks, it goes title capacity. It's only when it gets to the next item it changes. So to start off with, we know we're going to have string a title, and that's going to be sc record dot next. Right, that's definitely going to be the first one. And the next one's going to be sc record dot next. Next int semicolon. Now, here's where it differs. Certain ones, anyway, so now from there, what we've got is we've got here is when it could potentially become different things. So if, for example, now SC record dot has next. So I'm saying, is there more to it? If there's not more to it, then we know it's only just a. If there's no more to it, what is it?
Then it's
String. So then I just add drink and I send through title and capacity. But if there is more to it, what's the story? Then it still could be one. It could either be alcohol or it could be a sugar drink. So now we're sitting there, and we're now going to go and we're going to work with it. We're going to say int. Now this could be either sugar or alcohol, right? So I'm going to say temp because I don't know what it is. I can even say dana, or I could say sugar or alcohol, and is equal to sc record dot next int. Right? You guys following this so far?
Yeah.
Now here is if sc record dot has next. So this is one way in which they could actually have it, so that it could be either or. Now if it doesn't have an X, we know that it is a soft drink. So we go add soft, and then we'll send through title, capacity, and the last thing we'll send through is sugar or alcohol. Now if there isn't one, we know there's another thing, which is the warning. So I get the warning, and I say is equal to sc record dot next string, or next, sorry, and then I would go add alcohol. Now the big thing here, I'll be with you 2 seconds. The next thing that we've got here is you'll notice that every single item here, it'll look, if it's the first one, the first file, it'll go through here, it'll read the first, second, so, and oh, there's still more, so it will know that there's not a, it's not a drink. It'll then read this, so oh, there's still more, so no, it's not a soft drink. Okay, cool, I use the add, and I get the warning message, and I use add alcohol. If it's the other one, I'll go Coke, it'll get through here, there's one more, okay, it'll add soft drink, and so forth. So we'll add it to an array. This is going to be part 1 of this tutorial video, then I'll do a part 2 tomorrow, or when I see you guys next, and work through it. Thank you. I'll post it up on YouTube.